So, I guess you stumbled onto this video because you're thinking about getting a 3D printer, but you're not really convinced that a 3D printer would benefit you in such a way that it would be worth spending the money on an actual 3D printer. But I'm here to tell you 5 reasons on why you should get a 3D printer and 5 reasons why you shouldn't get a 3D printer. So if this is your first time here, hi, my name is Peter, and this channel is basically all about cameras, tech, 3D printing, filmmaking. I try to cover as much as I can, but I'm trying to widen the niche a little bit. So welcome into the warmth. Don't forget to subscribe if you like the video. We're gonna start with the 5 reasons as to why you should buy a 3D printer. And the number 1 reason, in my opinion, is the insane amount of things that you can customize at home. So earlier this summer, I wanted to have a little bit of a change here in my studio, and I wanted to make things look a little bit different and make them more personalized. And there's an entire video where I changed my desk, I mount some IKEA Skådis on the wall, and one of the main things that I wanted to focus on when I decided to change my desk was to streamline the entire desk. I wanted to make it very easy to shoot B-roll on the desk, but also sit here and edit. So what I needed to focus on was to get everything off the desk so that we just had a clean, nice walnut area that we could shoot B-roll. So what I did was that I sat down, I did a couple of designs, and I designed mounts for all the things that I want to get rid of up from the desk and mount underneath. So I got a holster for my Space Mouse, I got a holster for my iPad, my keyboard, my Mac Mini M4, and even my SanDisk ProBlade has its own space. And I think it's just so freaking amazing that I can customize everything with the specific needs that I have in order to make it the perfect fit. But the same thing goes for the IKEA Skådis that I got on the walls. I have printed the hooks, I have printed the holders for the whiskey bottles, the mount for the AMS light on my 3D printer, and there's so many different things that you can just print for it that is already available on MakerWorld. It's basically the community of Bambu Lab where you can upload your prints and other people can download them and print them on their own printer without having to know anything about the actual design. But then again, you know, all the practical stuff that you can print is, in my opinion, the key thing as to why I think everyone should have a 3D printer at home. Reason number 2 is that you can save money long term by not going to the store and buy specific things for the things that you want to have, since you can 3D print it instead. I could probably name 1,000 times where I have been to the hardware store trying to find something that could potentially fit the thing that I need to do. But then now with the 3D printer, I don't need to find that specific thing. I can just sit down, design it myself, and then create the exact fit that I want to have for my own house. And just to give you an example, spacers. There's so many times that I've been trying to find specific spacers that is specific measurements that I can use for specific things. That's a thing of the past. Because with a 3D printer, you don't have to think about those things. You can just go into Fusion 360, design your own spacer, and then put it wherever you want to have it. I love that. And the third reason as why you should have a 3D printer is being able to prototype things. Say for example that you have an idea of creating a triple holster for your camera batteries that is also a charger. What you can do then is that you can start prototyping your idea. You can start to try to create something out of the thoughts that you got in your head, and then you might have something that comes out looking like this, which is my actual first prototype of my own products. And this product has actually made me hundreds of thousands of dollars over the years ever since I came up with it. But I am working on something new though. And the cool thing with being able to prototype stuff is that just a couple of years ago, you had to send your ideas off to a different country or off to a factory in order to get a prototype of the product that you want to create. Now you can sit in your own home and design stuff and just do prototype after prototype until you find something that you like. And when you have the perfect prototype, that is when you can bring it into mass production. And I think it's so cool that you're able to skip out an entire line of the production just because you have a 3D printer at home. Which brings us into the 4th reason as to why you should have a 3D printer, and that is creative freedom. Say for example that you want to have a stand for the Nanlite power tube that you use, then you design one of those stands and you're gonna be able to have the PavoTube standing in the back of your videos. You don't ever have to think about this falling over because you have 3D printed stand. Or maybe you want to have some sort of, wall hook for the PavoTube, then that is what you design. Or maybe you want to have PavoTubes hanging in your tent, then you design a freaking hook for that as well. That is what I've done. It enables a different part of my brain that makes me feel like anything is possible. Like I can create this myself. And as I said previously, there is hundreds of thousands of different models that you can download from MakerWorld and just print on your own printer. But there is an incredible satisfaction to just sitting down, putting on some nice music, and then doing the entire design yourself. And when you come up with a final product that you really like, such as this, it just feels so good when you're using it. And if you want to download some of these, there's going to be a link to my MakerWorld profile down below, or my website. And the fifth reason as to why you should have a 3D printer is the community. MakerWorld changed the way that I think about 3D prints. It's just so freaking easy to go in and get a print that a professional has designed and get it out with the same kind of quality on your own printer. And you're gonna be able to find everything from toys to camera gear, kitchen stuff, and anything in between. There's probably gonna be someone that has designed the specific thing that you need. And if there's not, then you have a very good opening to just keep designing your own stuff. And if you don't know how to design stuff, well, that's one of the main reasons why you should not buy a 3D printer. Because the learning curve of actually designing stuff in, for example, the program that I use that is called Fusion 360 is very steep. I'm not gonna lie, it's kind of tedious, it's kind of boring, but once you get the hang of it though, that is where the fun part comes, and that is where your brain goes from like zoop to boom. And not only that, but the settings, the slicer, and the material will feel very overwhelming at first. Now, the second reason is that it's very, very time consuming. And I'm not only talking about the designs here, but also the prints. There's some prints that actually takes 10, 11, 15 hours to do. And there's some people that are actually printing, 72-hour prints. You can literally throw away time at this, which is both good and bad. But if you've been sitting down and editing videos, then you also know the feeling of hours turning into seconds. And the third reason as to why you shouldn't have a 3D printer is that it's noisy and it takes up a little bit of space. There is a couple of different 3D printers that you can get. There are open 3D printers and there are enclosed 3D printers. And there's going to be versions of these that are great, but putting them into your living room might not be the best thing that you can do if you want to run longer prints. And reason number 4 is that there is a little bit of maintenance required. You need to know a little bit of tinkering in order to have your 3D printing running for a longer period of time. There is some maintenance, some service, but it's basically the same as a car, and eventually you got to give it to the mechanics so that they can fix that and so on and so forth. But with the 3D printer, you have to learn things yourself, which brings us into the last reason why you shouldn't have a 3D printer, and that is because good printers and filaments is going to cost you a crap load of money over time. But with all those reasons stated, I still think that everyone should have a 3D printer. And for me personally, I've fallen in love with the printers that Bambu Lab has to offer. I started out with the Bambu Lab X1C as my first Bambu Lab 3D printer. Now I have 4 of them. And I'm working on a video on the H2D that is going to be in a separate video. But if you're looking into getting a 3D printer and you don't want to spend too much money on it, I have an entire video on the Bambu Labs A1 that I highly recommend you check out. It is a great printer for the money, and it is the perfect stepping stone to getting into 3D printing and getting started with 3D printing. But if you want to get an enclosed unit, I'd highly recommend to look into the X1C or the P1P or P1S. Those are also great freaking options. But if you felt that the 5 reasons as to why you should have a 3D printer is overweighing the 5 reasons not to, then you are on the right track to actually buying a 3D printer right now. And I'm gonna drop a link in the description if you wanna find the right one. Thanks so much for watching, and stay tuned for more 3D printing videos because that's coming. Okay? Have a good one. Peter från Sweden, out.